Yeah, Michael Giusti, Guisti.
And just talk about how she's feeling today with this exoneration.
Michelle is ecstatic and completely stressed out. She pretty much hasn't slept the whole weekend.
Mike, talk about how much she's maintained her innocence through this, and that this has just been a belabored process for her.
You know, that's the thing. She's always maintained her innocence. Unfortunately, nobody listened to it. She was interviewed in depth by Anaheim PD when she was taken in, and she told the absolute truth. And she never. This isn't a case where we, like with OJ, we wonder if he really did it or not. Right? She literally never did it. So maintaining her innocence was easy because she was.
Is it frustrating that it took just a few weeks for them to arrest her, but then it took months for them?
Oh, of course. But the mitigating thing there is that we were able to get her released on our own recognizance in October. So she has been out for a couple of months. But yeah, she's been 88 days in jail, and it's heartbreaking when you have a client who's looking at life in prison, and she was. It's hard to describe her. She'd come to the meetings, and when I go to jail, and she'd have her little yellow pad because she's an MPA student. So she'd come walking in with a yellow pad, expecting something to happen from this meeting, and I've got to just kind of tell her gently, we're trying to fight a life charge, and it's going to take a while, and hang in there, and we're doing the best we can. We have a good DA that we're working with, but it's very surreal for a lawyer to have to go through something like this, and to see your client in this sweaty orange jumpsuit when they really are innocent, and they know they're innocent, and they have no idea why they're in there, and they're just expecting someone to say, "Okay, it's over, we believe you." And as you know, sometimes that happens, and sometimes it doesn't. So we're very, she's pretty happy the way it came out.
And as a defense attorney, I imagine you're skeptical of a lot of your clients. Maybe when they come and say, "I didn't do it," in this case, was there at the beginning? Did you believe it? Was there an arc? I know you can't kind of get in all your conversations, but tell me about kind of when you started going, "Man, I really don't think she did it."
Okay, I don't know if I should say this. This is the first client that I believed from the beginning, and I was interviewed early on by one of their shows, and they said, "What do you have to say?" I said, "My client's absolutely innocent," and the person's mic literally dropped. But if you meet Michelle, she's this, she has this lust for life. She's a runner. She's a gourmet. She's an entrepreneur. I think she's going to launch 4 or 5 online businesses, and she's just really moving upwards. I mean, in her thinking and everything. So when you meet her, and in 17 years, I've met a lot of people that committed crimes. So when you meet her, you go, wow, this does not fit the template of anything that I've met. And most criminal defendants, once they're in the system, they become very nice people and very easy to work with. And there was just nothing about her that was insincere or out of round at all.
And is there any repercussions for somebody like this, like as far as financially, if you're wrongly arrested and accused, or is it kind of just, "Oh, sorry, go on with your..."
Well, it cost her family had to borrow money to, for her defense. There's tens of thousands of dollars wrapped up in getting us to where we're at now. She had to quit the MBA program. I'm sure you guys are aware of the media coverage on this. So she's been afraid to go out because she has been so well covered on it.
Is there any legal action she can take against the police that they want for her incarceration?
There are various things available to the defendant in cases like this.
What such as?
Well, the California Torts Act allows people to make claims, but that's something I'd rather not go over. We could, if you guys want to call me, we could discuss that later. But we're here in Tony's house, so I'd rather not.
Is she going to resume the MBA?
Yes, she will be resuming her MBA.
And did anyone ever actually say sorry, or did they just start working with her?
I think actions speak louder than words, and they're talking about interviewing in jail. We were locked down. Michelle, I, and the investigators, we were locked down in jail for about 7 hours, and that's the part I wish you guys had been there. She answered every question just very articulately, with terrific memory, with great recall. And as she worked with the investigators generally saw that she was telling the truth. And so and she spent some time, can't go into that, but she spent some time with the DA's office after this. So I think that she does feel like the DA has gone out of the way to right this.
And do you agree with Tony when he said that there was good reason to arrest her at the time she was arrested and that it was for public safety reasons?
It's, look, from my standpoint, it's very hard to swallow that a sociopath comes to the Anaheim Police Department and they can make up this kind of a credible story and they're believed. And my client, who's absolutely innocent, naively innocent, sat down with the police, not even thinking about her Fifth Amendment right, not being lawyered up at all, and she told everything she knew, and she's taken to jail. So it's a hard thing right now for me to get my head around, because there would be no kidnapping charges or false imprisonment charges if the police had been able to discern from the beginning just the pure incredulity, lack of credibility of Angela Diaz.
Do you think they should have waited for getting the results of the IP offenses?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Surely she has to be speculating why this happened. I mean, is she saying because of the love triangle? Does she still have a financial burden with the condo? I mean, why does she think this happened to her?
Yeah, probably all those things. The John Doe in this case is a very manipulative, very Machiavellian character. Some of the emails, which were supposedly sent by her, contained words that he had asked her during a relationship. What does a suffragette mean? What does this word mean? It actually referenced, she's an art major, and actually referenced some artist that she had discussed with him. So he had to have fed a lot of information to Angela, or they would have to have conspired to be able to mimic her personality. Because of course in this case I read all the emails and I look at the first one, which we know is Michelle, and look at all the others, and I'm going, God, this is good. I mean, this is, except for the fact that there were some key things which they didn't know what they were, and one of them was one of them was Michelle's use of Lilith, and if you Google Lilith, she's kind of like this demon, pagan something, and so they thought that she was like Michelle's guardian angel, so they started using that as an email address. So there were things, mistakes that they made, which tripped them up eventually.
So you certainly
Did I ramble?
You certainly think he's involved at this point.
Oh, I do, absolutely. Angela could not have written those emails unless she had the information from Ian.
It's kind of scary though, because once they're hiding within a computer, they could pretend to be anyone.
Oh, sure. But something else too. There's programs on the market. I think one of them is called like "Where Did My Email Come From?" And there are things that consumers can do to kind of get to some of this, but they do hit blind points. Our own investigation, some of these emails were coming from the Defense Ministry in the UK, and they were bouncing back from various Eastern European countries. So it
Which other countries?
forgive me, it would have been one of the stands. And I'm not trying to be politically incorrect, but it was one of the Eastern Bloc countries.
Can you give us your name again?
Michael Giusti, Giusti.